Hello everyone, my name is Lala Imadi. Today, me and my groupmates we are gonna talk about global mass culture, which is one of the important topic of our course. This is our outline that we are going to cover during this presentation. What is global mass culture? Why mass culture important? What caused mass culture and how it globalized? Positive and negative effects of global mass culture, impacts of technology in mass media, trends in modern mass culture. My topic is what is global mass culture, and let's get started. The term mass culture is a combination of two words, two German ideas, mass and culture. The mass is the non-aristocratic, uneducated portion of European society, especially the people who today might be described as lower middle class, working class, and poor class. Culture, translated as a high culture, refers not only to the art, music, literature, and other symbolic products that were preferred by well-educated elite of that European society, but also the styles of souls and feelings of those who choose the products, those who are culture. Mass culture, on the other hand, refers to symbolic products used by uncultured majority. Moreover, another definition of mass culture is popular culture. Mass culture refers to popular culture, which is produced by the industrial techniques of mass production and marketed for profit to a mass public of consumers. Popular culture or pop culture is the entire of ideas, perspectives, attitudes, images, and other phenomena that are within mainstream of a given culture, especially Western culture of the early 20s and emerging global mainstream of the late 20th and 21st century. It's a commercial culture mass produced for a mass market. It grows means that there is less room for any culture which cannot make money and which cannot be mass produced for a mass market, such as art and folk culture. Also, I have already mentioned the term popular culture was coined in the 19th century or earlier. Traditionally, popular culture was associated with the poor education and lower classes as opposed to official culture and higher education of upper classes. From the end of World War II, following major cultural and social changes brought by mass media innovations, the meaning of popular culture began to overlap with those of mass culture, media culture, image culture, consumer culture, and culture for mass consumption. And also, mass society, mass culture, and mass society theory refers to disruptive consequence of industrialization and urbanization. The rise of large-scale and mechanized industrial production and the growth of massive and densely populated cities are argued to have de-established and then eroded their societies and values which previously held together. Industrialization and urbanization create atomization, of which a mass society consists of people who can only relate to each other like atoms in a physical or chemical compound. Mass society consists of atomized people, people who lack any meaningful or morally coherent relationship with each other. In a mass society, the individual is left more and more to his or her own devices, has fewer and fewer communities or institutions in which to find, identify, or values by which to live, and has less and less idea of a morally appropriate ways to live. And finally, if people do not have a secure sense of moral value, then spurious and ineffectual order will emerge instead, and people will turn to surrogate and fake moralities. That's all for my part, and now my groupmate Chinar will continue.
Hello everyone. I want to continue with the importance of the mass culture. Mass culture is the main topic for the unit because it changed the way American people thought about buying clothes, appliances, playing sports, etc. And it was a way for other people to advertise the new things and persuade Americans to buy these new products and services. Before 1920s, there were no billboards and no radios to advertise products that are being advertised on radios. And people just had to live without knowing about what was going on around them with different trends. The mass culture is very important for big economies and big countries, such as USA, in terms of gaining money from movies and in terms of advertising of production, which helps to increase the sellings, increase the further GDP, and stimulate the country's growth. The profit-making nature of the companies that produce and sell items of popular cultures attempt to maximize their profits by emphasizing broadly appealing items and spreading them throughout the world. Of course, it's also important for most of the countries because you're advertising your product and it affects people, and people buy your product, your consumption increases, and people and then your GDP increases. This growth is increasing further with the help of the globalization. I mean, the interaction of globalization and mass culture help us to grow more, to improve our economy. This growth, using US government data, mass culture impact to 151 billion to the economy of US in 1982. The globalization enables foreign companies to distribute American cultural products, including music and books. The spread of American restaurant chain and consumer products worldwide is accompanied by the spread of American popular culture. So we talked about the importance of mass media for media exporter, mass media exporter countries. On the other hand, it's less important for other countries. We can take the case of Europe. From the perspective of other countries, the dominance of the United States film industry in Europe has been rapidly and recently growing concern. In 1987, US film already held an imposing 56% of the European film market. Less than a decade later, the share had risen to over 90%. By 2009, though, US films had just 67.1% market share. Recently, countries in Europe, such as France, have passed protectionist measures to facilitate the growth of the film industry domestically. In terms of the perspective of Europe, it's less important because it damages the domestic products. Now I'm giving floor to Vidadi to talk about more.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Vidadi Maslov. Today I would like to share with you about what caused mass culture and how it globalized. The mass culture, or so-called popular culture, raised right after the Second World War and during the period of Industrial Revolution. So what were the causes behind this? I would like to mention three essential points. First of all, people had a vast amount of leisure time to spend to literature, on their hobbies, on social communication, in short, on self-development. Other than that, a number of Americans had an interest in education. For instance, they started attending schools, learn reading, and learn more about different cultures, so that this interest caused the development of mass culture. Final cause is that Americans had found different types of shopping. To give an example, I can say that in 80s and 90s, shopping centers such as Ohio in Cleveland played an important role in mass culture development. Other than shopping departments and centers, magazines, catalogs, and newspapers were very famous in terms of advertising products to consumers. The causes that I've mentioned increased mass culture, which then it became global rather than local ideology. But the question is, how? When it comes to globalization of mass culture, it's more likely to be related to the economy and power of America even in 18th and 19th. Until today, the United States have been the biggest producer of mass culture. Pop culture spread the world through the vast amount of chain markets, fast foods, clothing, music, art, literature, and other entertainment and consumer goods. As an example, I can mention Starbucks. As we all know, Starbucks is a world-famous coffee shop and it's an American company. Starbucks changed the beverages we drink, when and where we drink, and even how much we consume. These famous coffee shops spread not only their products all over the world, but also a little part of American culture, drinking coffee. There were territories where only a minority of people consumed coffee daily before the Starbucks shops came to their area. If we consider all of them and their contribution to society and their culture, probably we will see the impact on mass culture. As a result, this form of globalization turned to Americanization. Even today, when we look at the world, we can see the financial and political effect and dominance of the United States on other nations. The American mass culture tended to get the most attention and did achieve its aim successfully. As former Canadian Prime Minister Kim Campbell observes that images of America are so pervasive in this global village that instead of the world immigrating to America, America is immigrating to the world, allowing people to aspire to be Americans even in distant countries. Now my groupmate Narmin Museva will continue our presentation.
Hello everyone. While explaining mass culture, two aspects appear. The first one is about the positive reflection of it to society. Mass culture acts as a unifying agent for the people across the world, and it destroys all the borders. It has the power to start conversation over certain contexts such as movies, books, videos, games, and it helps people to make new friends and discover similar interests. In this way, mass culture gives you something to talk about and turns strangers into friends. Another point is that it keeps us moving. Mass culture is accessible to almost everyone who has the ability to gain access to media. You are exposed to new ideas, new stories, new characters, and even new writers and artists who bring new elements into this culture. That means you have new experiences all the time, which make you more aware of what's going on in the world around you. Every day becomes a new opportunity to discover something new that you can love. It increases the prestige of an individual product and captures the interest of the audience by promoting modern ideas with classic art, by contributing to new innovations and creativity. And it eventually creates icons, symbols that makes masses to understand human emotions and lead to special connection among people from different cultures and sectors. Thus, people get closer under their values in terms of language, art, and emotions. On the other side, we cannot deny the fact that mass culture has negative influences as well. The depiction of violence, blood, and guns can have serious psychological damage, especially on young children. Some people can get so immersed into the fictional universes that it becomes difficult for them to distinguish between what is real and what is not. It can also be heavily distracting for people. In certain ways, mass culture can discourage intelligence and block the functional process of individuals' brain. As a result of it, individuals become the beings that belong to certain ideology of mass culture that there is no cultural development anymore. Since this culture creates the cult following, people are more likely to join the bandwagon of wanting more and more, which results in consumption-driving culture. It means people are there where the popularity is. Since mass culture is also known as the culture of celebrities, people following them use the same fashion, same sweets, same shoes, same tastes and preferences. Even imitation of fictional characters causes the loss of one's own characteristic features and ideas. Consequently, all these factors weaken the individuality and self-expression. In a world where everything changes faster, people become dissatisfied with the products of mass culture. Even feelings such as loving and liking do not make sense after a while. Like children throwing away their old toys, adults also become intolerant of the same production. Thanks to the role of media and social platforms, jargon speaking and sexuality concepts also reflect in a direct way in mass culture. The media has gained the power to make a particular issue the most important agenda of daily life and drops it immediately. So this factor creates temporary satisfaction and pleasure for the masses that eventually lead people to search for new values while leaving the old and traditional ones behind. So while talking about mass culture, it has both positive and negative sides. Now I'm yielding the floor to the next speaker.
I'm gonna talk about the role of technological change in mass culture. Technology influences the quality of life and the ways people act and interact. Technological changes are often accompanied by social, political, and economic change that can be beneficial or harmful to individuals and to society. Social needs, attitudes, and values influence the direction of technological development. There has always been a connection between technology and culture. It's a complex relationship that forms a figurative circle of influence. There is no real starting or end point within the circle. Both technology and culture continue to influence each other as they develop and change over time. In the, tw- in the 20th and 21st centuries, technology and culture have significantly influenced one another. Technology seems to be determining the culture of humans now. I want to mention some of the effects of technology in our daily life. For example, we talk to people on phone, but don't feel the need to meet them in person. We pay now through card or online banking, mostly, without carrying much cash. We order many things online and don't need to step out of our home for most of our needs. Then we order food online and don't even cook food at home on some days. Additionally, some of us working from home and don't go to the office to work. We even make friends without meeting them face to face. The many hundreds of small ways that technology change our individual and collective behavior on a daily basis. And of course, for each of those examples, someone's personal behavior can change group's behavior. It's just harder to do because how quickly and unconsciously so many of those norms are forming. Through it may sound like it at times, but I'm not a pessimist about where these norms are leading us because they're also enabling social change like global connectedness, new economic realities and pathways, and better governments. Because of technology, we can find or create the communities and relationships that fit our version of thriving, whatever what might be. I'm eternally hopeful that we can lean into the good, minimize the bad, and consciously explore the gray areas, which exactly why I talk so much about how technology is affecting our lives, relationships, communities, and work. Now, Laman will continue.
Hello everyone, my name is Leman. I will talk about the trend in modern mass culture. Modern mass culture touches all aspects of life such as education, employment, healthcare, travel, leisure, food, family, and other aspects of life, which essentially increases the uniformity across the globe. Modern mass culture swept the world community through the trend in all areas. As examples of modern mass culture products, including McDonald's, to place to eat prestigious, phones as an object that cannot be separated from each individual today, and televisions, and the internet is a part of life and human activities. And here are a variety of products that represents the phenomenon of culture in modern society. Clothing, both traditional or modern, in general is designed with attention to cultural development so that in addition to its form, it also has a normative meaning, the etiquette and the ethics. The existence and the role of technological advances on the fashion cannot be denied. And in addition to its physical form, clothing also reflects a variety of meaning in psychological level. The clothing as an articraft in human culture has been influenced by global mass culture. Fashion has become the object of a growing and spreading continuously through a variety of books, magazines, product catalogs, television shows, internet, movies, and so on. So the meaning of clothing has changed from its very simple purpose of protecting body from the environmental conditions to the existing type of clothing with different styles. However, the field of fashion is very influential in rolling the modern mass culture. The collaboration between the industry parties with the mass media has a power to spread the passionate fashion trends all over the world. So they have a powerful weapon to pierce the hegemony of community through the fashion products by art workers. So they have ability to use the emotions of the community to offer the propaganda fashion in popular culture. But the question is to how to avoid the bad influence of popular culture. I would say that to change the society's view to avoid the bad influence, there is a need to change the meaning through the social learning from the fashion. It means that the designers of the fashion who affect the society through the clothes they design need to have a good knowledge and thoughts of social memory, social norms, shared perceptions, cultural beliefs, and etc. They need to be able to synthesize the traditional principles of local culture with the culture of global capitalism, which holds the principles of progress. However, it again need to be noted that the phenomenon of popular culture in the fashion field have always been existed in the history. And it's undeniable that in any time span of the history, a new fashion came into the existence and adopted, gradually spread and followed by many people. And then it went out of the date and new one came in and this cycle continues. However, the most important thing is that we need to choose the clothing that makes us feel comfortable and free and enable us to express ourselves as the way we are and create our own fashion. That's all. Thank you for your attention.